Hey everybody, Jamie Star. Today I want to talk about something that I've been thinking about a lot, and I'm gonna reference some music-y conspiracy things from the past. I'm going to talk about how I think everyone is sort of just gone along with the devaluation of music in culture. Let's just put it like that. That's what I'm really been thinking about the past 24 hours real heavily, especially because I was with a friend of mine last night and we're talking about working on an album. And I'm just like, man, how do you do this and not end up like in the same, viewed in the same category as like Megan the Stallion or something like that? Like, he's like, have you heard this new act? I'm like, no. Have you heard this? No. He's like, me neither. We're both like, I go out of my way to avoid it. And it's like, it's crazy to say you want to be like seeing yourself in an industry and then being like all the highest levels of that industry you're looking at and saying, I don't want to be around those people. I don't want to be recognized with that. So how do you do that nowadays? What are some ideas and how we got here? So I'm just gonna start getting into some of the things I wanted to point out. And so let's start with this one.
A core group artist that wants to come back to where artistic expression and integrity is sort of at the core of the music business. It was a good business model for a long time. There were a lot of flaws, but essentially a lot of great work was created. And now you talk to most people, particularly 20-year-olds, they're just not very connected to their music because the corporate aspect of it and the message behind it has really alienated a lot of people, and they've turned to other things. They've turned to video games. They turned to, but music no longer has that sort of special place in the culture.
It So, and I mean, just think about that. Like, yes, there are people buying vinyl and all of that, but in general, when music became digitized, there was no longer that experience aspect of it. There was no longer you went to the store, you opened it on the ride home. If you had a CD player in the car at the time, you probably started listening to it then, or you wait till you got home. Like, when you're younger, like I mean, I'm thinking of like when my mom had to drive me to the mall and I had to go and buy a CD because by the time everyone in my age group was capable of driving, Napster was already around. So, but that whole like you go, you get it, you have difficulty taking off the top, sticker on the CD. You're taking out the booklet, you're reading the lyrics along with it. Like, there was an experience that happened, and it wasn't even because of the nature of music being auditory instead of visual. There's so much for your mind to make up for itself and to see for itself and to create for itself and to envision. And even now with like the mechanisms we have, like every to some artists credit, and I'm sure to some their detriment, like a lot of times, like the only time I've ever seen a Tom McDonald track is watching his videos. The visual component is very tied into it. I mean, I hope his two CDs are doing well and all that, but that's because that's the platform of now. So like in the 90s and around this time, like music, I almost see the decline and the devaluing of music tied in with its how relevant and important it was with movie soundtracks, because I feel like that really spoke to this tied experience. Like, it's interesting, in a comment I was just having on a past video, someone was talking about creating an evolution and all that, so I sort of gave my full little spiel about the way I see the world based on what we do on a day to day, and just taking that to the macro level and all of this. And I referenced, in professional wrestling, you have CM Punk. His entrance music is Cult of Personality by the band Living Color. These two things are synonymous. The movie Titanic and um Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On. The two are tied together. They are synonymous. City of Angels. I've never seen the movie City of Angels, but I know the Goo Goo Dolls song, Iris, I believe. Maybe it was named, but Iris, I think, was on that soundtrack. Um, the remake of Another Brick in the Wall was for the movie The Faculty. Like, these things are tied to, a soundtrack by the movie, and the movie by the soundtrack. Even if you never saw the one, you knew it. They were that intertwined. You don't really have that anymore. Part of it is, all right, well, in chronological order, again, the digitalization, the Napster element. Now, one of the things, for anyone who's followed my music stuff, you know the place I got the most listens was always the torrents. So I'll be the first to say I was very big on Napster because it was a way to get obscure stuff. One of the things, like, I love music to the point where I'm a collector. I had friends that had, these shelves of just rare Nirvana, and my friend Devin, who I was in a band with, he had told me, I've never let anyone borrow my, obscure Marilyn Manson collection, but you promised, you just needed it for the night to copy it to the computer, and you'd burn me whatever. I can't tell you at that point in time, when I didn't even have a CD burner, but my uncle let me borrow his on the weekends, how many friendships I had just based off of trading CDs. Let me borrow your collection of stuff I've never seen or heard of. Throw in a few new bands there. I'll burn you whatever you want from my collection. And eventually, because I had everyone's rare collection, I just had the collection. That, it's, where does it go on? Like, everything is so awful right now as far as music, the distribution methods, and things like that. And I have some ideas that are some simple fucking solutions in mind. But I think so all right. So Napster, you have Napster, torrents, and the music industry the entire time is acting like they're opposed to it. Now, what Cans and I did is we would remix songs that were on remix songs that were on, like, Britney Spears, Kanye West, Drake, any of these people that now 10 or whatever years later all sound like what we were doing then, but that's side story. And I forgot some of their road managers have been given our stuff by hand. So anyway, but we would remix their tracks, and I'd be, again, so on it. I'm getting the stuff before it's even out. So, like, when the new Britney Spears album comes out, people all over the world are downloading it and getting our versions of it. So all that goes on. But the thing is that on any main platform where you would kind of see this reflect, like, you can still Google some or YouTube some of the stuff, and other people are sharing it. That's why I have my whole issue of someone else selling the Jamie Starr catalog stuff and me working under Thumper now. It's because I was so good at making it appear as if we were already established and famous. The BBC set up profile pages for us. Like, this is all the old stuff. So, but DMCA takedown notices. That's what it was. Because the internet used to be the Wild West. YouTube used to have no copyright enforcement. You could make a career at one point just sharing the funniest videos you found. As the monetization became more and more and more, this business structure was brought in. Well, then, because the whole thing is how much are you making off of it? If you ever popped in a VHS and it says, duplicate this, whatever, fine. If you actually read it, the crime isn't in the duplication. The crime is in the profiting off the duplication. And this is one of these things where 50 Cent and a lot of these hip hop artists came up in the mixtape scene, where you're rapping on someone else's beat, but it's being sold on a CD. So it's very hard to track and everything like that. But once you start doing it digitally and they start having these algorithms that can detect the beats and everything, I mean, it's like a headache nowadays where you have these services that are like, oh yeah, come here and buy samples, And then there's all this fine print from each company being like, oh, well, but if we detect it in something and we want a royalty and this and that, and it's like, even with just like when you think you're buying stock sounds and stuff, it's insane. So even as the music industry has been like trying to portray themselves against all of this and as if they're losing control, things are tightly regulated right now. Even the areas you think are like the illegal distribution and everything like that, it is tightly regulated to almost a level of like only industry stuff. Like it's not like you're allowed your place on SoundCloud, but even if you try to go to one of the illegal sites for pirating music right now and you're a unknown artist, they will have rules in there being like you can't post your own work and stuff like that. And because these people are given their own little 2 feet of the internet to rule over, they turn into a bunch of tyrants. So even in the illegal mechanisms, it's very hard to try to break through as an artist. Um so before I tie together to now, let's just cover like why it would be important if you're trying to take down a culture to devalue music. And I'm trying to keep this quick and not get real into stuff, but there's tons of little things out there that can just show you the importance of it. So I'm just going to cover 3 and we'll just follow my basic premise of where there's smoke there's fire. Not, every detail of these conspiracy theories might be true, but there's a debate going on around this stuff. So, and those that aren't deep into music stuff probably just wouldn't be aware. So there's a bit of a conspiracy about standard tuning and 432 tuning to 440 hertz. And this is again this whole frequency thing. Now, if you want to go with the kind of hippie idea of like good vibrations, everything's made out of frequencies. So there's just a level of like, well, if all reality is frequencies and good vibes and so obviously music is just important on that level because it's sound. It's, so 432, 440. What the basic, here's the issue is it's believed Joseph Goebbels in the Nazis when they were, doing their thing with the Reich and all that, that they discovered and then decided that the tuning of instruments and standard tuning should just be slightly up because it will like keep everyone slightly on edge and kind of irritable and like and so then there's all these examples of like, oh well, Bob Marley did all of these songs in 432 instead of 440, and it's like everything is slightly just tuned down a little, like not, I mean, kind of like everything's just tuned flat. So it's really like just playing everything down a step. But supposedly it's like why Bob Marley just has that like chest voice that is very like calming. I don't know. Again, just watch the videos if it's something you're really interested in. Um to me it all seems very relative. Like I said, like now here's a weird thing though is Brett, if you were to ever give my friend Brett a guitar to tune, he is just naturally going to 432. He just believes the guitar is meant to be flat. Like, that's all there is to it. And it'll all be in tune with itself, and he'll think it's in standard tuning, but it's all just a little flat. So, I always thought that was kind of odd, where it's like, oh, well, I know people that just sort of like would have like perfect pitch if they weren't in like just a half step lower every time, all the time. So then you also have this nifty little experiment where there's Dr. Emoto, and what he did was basically there's something I don't remember offhand if it's the ice experiment transferred into water with like growing rice, but there's all these ways you can sort of recreate it and try it out. But what his basic hypothesis was that the impact and intentions and sound and all of this had a impact on the physical world around us. So he would like freeze water while playing pretty music and then photograph the ice crystals and how it froze. And he would notice in like pretty and uplifting and like good vibe stuff that it would make pretty symmetrical shapes. And he noticed in more dissonant and hateful and whatever, sounding or emotionally charged words, or there's a handful of different ways he played around with this idea, and the way other peoples have tried to adapt it. So if it sounds like I'm just throwing shit at the wall, again, feel free to look this up. I'm just trying to make my case that music, the arrangements of sounds and frequencies and all of that, like, is very impactful, and everyone seems to have forgotten this. So there's this guy's research. Then there's the Freemasons, which, for just for the hell of it, because they're at the, they always got to be a little tied into just every conspiracy. But they actually view music as their second highest art and science. And it's mainly when you see them referred to a lot, it's mainly what they just refer to as the sciences, because they believe there's science in all of this. So this part I'm going to read because I find it really interesting. Every fellow craft mason learns of the importance of the liberal arts and sciences, of which he is instructed there are 7, namely grammar, rhetoric, logic, arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Unfortunately, few Freemasons take this instruction with any degree of seriousness and make no further effort to examine the nature of these arts. Like much of Freemasonry, the liberal arts and sciences come to us from the medieval period, and they were believed to be the sum total of all knowledge that was worthwhile to a complete education. They were known as artes liberales, from the Latin word liber, which means free. In this sense, they were the subjects available to free men and were a contrast from the artes illiberales, which were taught for purely economic reasons, that a man may earn a living. These arts were the operative arts of the workmen and were considered less desirable educational pursuits. So right here it's already telling you that there's different kinds of arts and sciences, and some are viewed as important and relevant for higher knowledge, and some are viewed as just grunt shit for making money. Workmen and were less desirable educational pursuits. While we have adopted the 7 liberal arts and sciences from the medieval era, they were known as the Pythagorean and Platonic errors. The 7 liberal arts and sciences were broken into 2 groups, one concerning language and the other concerning mathematics. And this is a interesting thing, especially personally for me, the idea of music being tied to math, because in a lot of ways I say I'm very bad with math, but when it comes to music, I'm very fluent in what's going on, what's happening, where we're at, where we can go. It's like a chessboard. There's no this, oh, it's just my expression of my deepest soul. Yeah, all right. The first of the trivium, or the road of 3 paths, and included grammar, rhetoric, and logic. Grammar is the portion of language that allows us to fine-tune our speech like the ashlars and remove all barbarous expressions. Rhetoric is the art which allows us to persuade and have an effect upon the listener. The last and perhaps most important art of the trivium is logic, which permits us the gift of reasoning. In the purely Masonic sense, it allows us to understand our duties to God and towards each other. The second was the quadrivium, or path of 4 roads, which included arithmetic, geometry, music, and astronomy. Arithmetic is the process by which we are able to calculate all weights and measures, but in speculative and philosophical sense can best be summed up by the following quotation. For the Freemasonry, the application of the science is as continually to add to his knowledge, never to subtract anything from the character of his neighbor, to multiply his benevolence to his fellow creatures, and to divide his means by which in those in need. Geometry is so fundamental a part of Freemasonry as to almost require no explanation. Suffice to say, it is the science upon which our very fraternity is founded. It allows us to create right angle triangles, the symbol of our uprightness and square actions towards God. one another and our fellow creatures. Music is a mystery to the Freemason and a mystery as to its connection to mathematics, but as to anyone who practices this art, the connection is apparent. Our ancient brother Pythagoras was perhaps the first to notice the mathematical correlation between music and numbers. And it's true, music is a lot of timing, time manipulation, sound manipulation, frequency manipulation, and arrangements of the manipulated frequencies. Astronomy is the art by which we can trace the great symmetry of the hand of the deity throughout the heavens. Upon our symbols, the sun, the moon, the stars are borrowed from the science of astronomy. While to our ancient brethren aimed at blending of all knowledge, the modern Freemason can apply to the 7 liberal arts and sciences a special and appropriate metaphor for life of self-improvement and mental growth. This goal is symbolized in our lodges by the rough and perfect ashlars and by the Masonic agenda of taking a good man and making him better. So, even the Freemasons that people are like thinking are tied into conspiracies, and sometimes, most times, they're generally just upright members of your community. I have like a handful of friends that are, and none of them are taking over the world yet that I know of. They all are very artistic though. And so it's very important with them. And Freemasonry has been around forever. So everyone all through all of time knew how important music was until like 5 minutes ago. And now it's like, it's just turned into this crazy industry of like, how cheap can we get? How much of it? And for how much can we exploit it? Like, it really really is crazy. And it's like, it's it's like there's money to be made and there's lots of opportunity, but the competition is opened up so much, and it's just that makes it where a lot of these companies, for something to really break and to really hit that cultural zeitgeist, so here's where I'm going to talk about like the back to the issue of what I was saying about you don't want to be up there with Megan Thee Stallion. One of the sad truths is pedophiles like Jimmy Savile have done more to win the culture war for the bad guys than any sort of Alex Jones, Joe Rogan, Tim Pool could ever want to. And all they'd have to do is change up 5 to 10 minutes of their format for their shows to do this, because there used to be a time everyone comments, oh, the comedy, the comedians, the comedy, we're canceling the comedy because everyone's saying nigger. It's okay, but they also used to be intertwined the same way I was talking about the soundtracks and songs. You used to have late night shows that would break artists. And everyone's kind of adopted this late night format of, little monologue at the top and, doing their show, interview, whatever. And then at the end, you show a band and they perform. SNL is still doing it. But no one else is. They've all adopted the late night sort of format without that key component. And part of it's because late night and all these shows, some of them kind of phased it out. Again, the Beatles were broken on, what show was it? They broke through. Jimmy Savile had Top of the Pops. Everyone is saying culture war, culture war, culture war. And I'm wondering, who's talking to enough artists to put together a right-wing MTV? Or not even, I mean, here's the other thing is, when these artists were on their shows, their politics weren't discussed. So it doesn't even have to be people like myself that are outspoken and things like that. Like, I just wanted to know that it's someone that doesn't hate the country. I think that's a very simple thing to ask, and there's not many of us. Like, Young Ripper doesn't even do this. Why am I not hearing 2 or 3 of his songs throughout every one of his episodes? You have The Blaze, censored Gavin's Network was very close to at one point after Soph got banned. It had a 90s MTV kind of vibe. Again, they weren't going out of their way to break bands. Um, Sam Hyde did this though. When Sam Hyde had his show, he would have bands on. And 9 times out of 10, I'm asking, what band is this? Who is this? Now, some of them came out and denounced him after the fact and all that. But I'm not seeing, there are tons of people that could easily devote 5 minutes of their show to breaking artists that, and here's my example that I want to show. One of the first places people heard Slipknot was on Conan O'Brien.
My next guest began playing together 5 years ago in their native Des Moines, Iowa. Today, they are one of the hottest bands in the country. Please welcome Slipknot.
Like, and if people forgot who Slipknot is, imagine that on one of these late night shows. Imagine going from Kimmel's vaccine lecture to Slipknot. I mean, that's what I'm saying. This used to be the format. And it seems so easy. It really seems so easy. If I could devote my full days to it, I could easily find a handful of artists to fill 6 to 8 hours of TV a day or streaming, pop in with a news show. Why is no one trying to do the MTV format? I really want to know. You could have a dating show, and again, do it with class. It doesn't need to be this prim and proper, like, one of the things, you look at Candace Owens' show, and this isn't a knock to her, but, she would always say, like, I'm going for Chelsea Handler, and I understand you want to be classy, you don't want to be, Chelsea Handler herself, but it's like, even that, it's like very Daily Wired, like it's in what I've seen of the clips, like it's very prim and proper seeming, and like I'm just waiting for something kind of. And the other thing too is with what I was saying about the politics, like not knocking Tom McDonald's thing, or Joy Villa did what she did to have to break through, but she couldn't really hold on to it. That I felt like she didn't stay relevant. Like there's nothing to keep it sustaining, and it's like I don't want to feel like I have to wrap myself in a bunch of fucking hashtag American flag shit to cut through the noise, or be like I did do a remix project, Make Music Great Again, but I thought that was kind of like a fitting name for a remix project, because it's like, here's my spin on these things. But even that, like, it doesn't, you really gotta go all in with it. And from the producer angle, like, I'm not getting up and putting my face on shit and singing and dancing for no one. Like, just, that's not my shtick. But the industry is super locked down. Cancel culture came in the form of DMCA notices way before YouTube was tightening the noose. Everywhere is super tight now. And I think if anyone with these news shows that claims they care about the culture war, fuck, if all of them want to just, if they just put me in charge of it, I will just scour the internet for decent musicians that don't hate America, and just book one at each digital show. It'd be like booking a nightclub, basically. Like, you're just booking one act per whatever. Do a little 5-minute set on InfoWars, do a little 5-minute set on Tim Pool, do a 5-minute set on Rogan, do a 5-minute set on whoever, and you get your little week round while you're pushing whatever single. Like, these people need a culture booking agent. Really. That's, like, I don't see, and the movie thing, it's like, it'd be so much easier to just do what everyone else did for all the time up until now. Like, fucking The Tonight Show wasn't putting out movies or fucking skit shows or live streams. It's just have a fucking artist on there sing a song for 5 minutes, and you're gonna do way more than what you think you're doing. And the music also will do way more to try to win people over on an emotional level. John Lennon's Imagine, as much as it's some bullshit hippy dippy commie anthem, still going strong. They're like locked down the country and these bitches are crying and singing it. So that's what I have to say. Music has died. It needs to be brought back. You can't be devaluing or holding no value and letting this art form hold no value in your heart and think you're going to have any sort of impact on culture if you don't even know and appreciate the components. So that's my take on that.